Rhode Island Congressman Gabe Amo, and Jared Bernstein, former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under the Biden administration. Okay, Mr. Chairman. He said 90 deals in 90 days. But this is an interview that he did with Time Magazine in April, where he claimed to have already made 200 deals, where he said, Time says, your trade advisor, Peter Navarro, says 90 deals in 90 days is possible. We're now 13 days into the point from when you lifted the discounted reciprocal rates, tariffs. There's 0 deals so far. What is that? Trump says, no, there's many deals. Time, no, not one has been announced yet. When are you going to announce them? Trump, I've made 200 deals. Time, you've made 200 deals? Trump, 100%. Mr. Chairman?
That's a lot of numbers for not a lot of deals.
Why don't we have 90 deals in 90 days?
We don't have 200, that's for sure. We don't have one.
Right.
It takes a long time to make a trade deal. There's a lot of details involved with these things. They tend to run for hundreds of pages. It's often about what are we going to do with rubber tire grade 4 and this chicken part or that. Right. What they're talking about are these broad frameworks that we've had with certain countries, which are basically us talking to Japan or the UK, Vietnam's another example. You know, where we've said, here's what we think we might want to do, and they say, well, let's think about that, and we go back and forth. The bottom line to all of this, which is most important from the perspective of American consumers and the American working class, is all of this is going to make their life more expensive. So we can go back and forth all day about what kind of deals they've made. They're never going to get anywhere close to meeting the kinds of numbers you just suggested. I mean, the physics of trade deals would prevent that from occurring. But prices are going up because of these tariffs. We've seen really tens of billions of dollars that U.S. companies are paying in this import tax. It takes a while for it to pass through the chain all the way back down to consumers. But myself and pretty much every economist who's looked at it expect that to be the case.
You know, Congressman, one of the things that I can't stop thinking about is how you have these members of Congress, the Republicans, who have for a very long time cared about the budget, cared and said they care about the economy and how high prices are getting. They're getting higher. These tariffs are making it worse. And you actually have Jerome Powell, the chair of the Fed, saying something on Tuesday that I want people to hear. Take a listen.
In effect, we went on hold when we saw the size of the tariffs and essentially all inflation forecasts for the United States went up materially as a consequence of the tariffs. So we didn't overreact. In fact, we didn't react at all. We're simply taking some time. As long as the U.S. economy is in solid shape, we think the prudent thing to do is to wait and learn more and see what those effects might be. And again, they haven't really shown up. And, you know, so for now, we're waiting.
Now, that was economist speak for if we would cut interest rates by now if it weren't for the tariffs, right? He also said that the tariffs may make the economy worse. And so when you're talking to your Republican colleagues, do you get any sense that they're talking to the White House, talking to President Trump to tell him to cool his jets on some of these tariffs? Because there is no indication by any economist of any repute that says that this is going to be good for the country.
Well, look, the fact of the matter is this is part of the pattern of chaos and confusion that we've seen from this administration in every regard. And moreover, they promised to address costs. They promised that they would be focused on the things that the American people care about. But we've seen quite the opposite over and over again. And so my Republican colleagues that I speak with, they are, also perplexed by the actions of the administration. But the challenge is they're not doing anything about it. They're not exercising their influence to say to the White House, look, this is hurting in my part of the country. Just last week, I had a roundtable with manufacturers in my district, all of whom are echoing the sentiments of Jerome Powell. They are saying there is a boatload of uncertainty that is causing them to pause decisions, that is making it harder to hire people, to buy machinery and invest in their companies. And at the end of the day, they are going to pay more. They are already paying more. A laser manufacturer, technology manufacturer in my district said something to the effect of, I've got components from my machines from China, from Italy, from Germany I don't know what to do. I'm waiting and hoping for the best come July 9th. And that's a problem because they can't plan. And if you hear the sentiment, it's clear. Uncertainty is hurting the economy, killing the American consumer, and really hurting our small business owners.
Jared, I want you to clear something up for me here, because when the June jobs report came out, before it came out, I believe it was the day before, ADP predicted that there would be a decline of 33,000 private sector jobs, that 33,000 private sector jobs would be lost. But then when the jobs numbers came out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 147,000 jobs were created. Now, a headline in CNBC on Thursday makes this point. They said, and I want to see if you agree with this, the huge divergence between the ADP and BLS reports then might not be that much of a statistical aberration and could point to a growing schism in the U.S. labor market.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. I think most of us pretty much discount the ADP report. Nothing against those folks. They do good work. But it's important to have kind of one metric that we understand and agree on, and that's the BLS report, the one that came out usually Friday, this time Thursday because of the holiday. I think the important point is if you get under the hood of both of them, I think what really matters is how's the job market doing. If you get under the hood of both of them, there are some cracks. We're seeing some cracks. The White House doesn't talk about it. One thing, I did a little calculation this morning before I got here.
Very good.
Economist.
Yeah, yes. Because I've been wondering about this. Real consumer spending this year is up 0.
Oh.
Now, that's really something, because when I was in the White House and the economy was doing well, consumer spending was a key driver. That very much relates back to the job market. If you have strong job growth, falling inflation, rising real pay, that tends to fuel consumer prices. The job market has slowed some, still delivering job gains, but employers, we just heard from the congressman, employers are getting more nervous about the future, and that means that they're hiring less. We haven't seen layoffs. We have seen less hiring. The hiring rate has actually been down some. There's real anxiety about whether we should invest here or there. A lot of investors sitting on their hands. Bottom line is that that's creating a level of nervousness about where things are headed, and that dampens, I think, economic growth going forward.
Congressman, one of the things that I think the Biden administration, Jared, you told me, but the Biden administration learned was that it matters how people feel about the economy, right? The numbers can be whatever the numbers are. You can talk about it until you're blue in the face. You can bring out your charts. You can talk about the macroeconomics of it all. But how people feel about it really matters. And what we've seen is that people feel like the economy is not good. And that has lasted the 6 months of this first Trump administration. How are Democrats going to use that feeling that people have to their benefit politically? Because at this point, there's so much going on. We have this health care bill. There's the tax cuts that are in there. There's all these things that you guys can be talking about. But at the end of the day, as James Carville likes to say, it's the economy, stupid. So how do you guys make sure that people understand that this economy is owned by the Trump administration?
Well, look, that is the important mission that we have ahead. It goes back to Maya Angelou, who says people forget what you said, forget what you did, but they remember how you made them feel. And Democrats have to provide a clear contrast to the chaos and confusion that we've seen out of this administration. There is no action that this administration has taken to make costs move in the other direction, to make it easier to live in this country, for cost of living to be reasonable. Their big, ugly bill is laden with an unequal distribution of wealth, is putting forward an agenda where if you are wealthy, you have a great opportunity ahead. But if you're not, you're going to have to struggle to make it. And so what we have to do is continue to share that narrative. I think about something like energy costs, right? The reversal of all of our investments in clean energy from the Biden administration and the Democratic Congress will lead to higher costs. Energy hurts. Here in New England, where I'm from, 80% of our fuel comes from Canada. 9% of our electricity. We're going to feel it. And I'm going to be very clear that that is because of the policies of the Trump administration. So we have to get specific. We have to say your 4th of July cookout that you just spent more money on this year is because of Donald Trump and congressional Republicans. We have to stay focused on those costs.
Jared, really quickly in the little bit of time that we have left, is there any world in which the tariffs do not raise costs for normal Americans and the things they buy here?
Yes, in the sense that if the companies themselves, quote, ate the tariffs, if the exporters ate the tariffs, meaning that they paid the price and didn't pass it forward to consumers, it's a possibility. The thing is that we've never seen that.
I was going to say, I'm not banking on corporations getting real nice to the American people.
It is unquestionable in my mind, based on empirical evidence, that the end of the line is the consumer. We haven't seen much of it yet. We've seen some of it. I think we're going to see more.
Representative Gabe Amo and Jared Bernstein, thank you so much for coming on.